Good evening, everyone. I think these are difficult moments. Either you come in to speak after a lunch. I think the team did a fantastic job by allocating that job to Mr. with this rhythm. And I know that with the rhythm being around, people would be pretty active. And now it has been given to me after a tea break. Now people are still pouring in. What I've done today is I'm going to be speaking to what being the theme for IFA Galaxy, which is SIP in a different way. Rather than looking at an SIP from a systematic investment plan that all of us know SIP is, the theme is strive, innovate, and prosper. I was told, why don't you come and talk on a big idea? And I was thinking, what could be the big idea? It could be the retirement, it could be something else. But why not stick to SIP only? And look at how can SIP also be looked upon in a different way. And that's what an attempt I'm trying to do today. As Charlie Munger has said, the big money is not in buying and selling, but it is all about spending time or waiting. I think Mr. Buffet also has said it very nicely. Rather than timing the market, spend time in the market, that's more important. If we have to reimagine SIP as strive, innovate, and prosper, then what is strive? Strive is talking about to do the things with a lot of passion. We just saw Santosh talking about his P was a passion. That's what strive is all about. You would want to achieve with a lot of passion behind it. You need to be innovate, because if you are looking at doing the things in a little, non-traditional way, then innovation has to be a part of that, which is to do the thing wherein you're adding value. And obviously, all of it needs to culminate into the prosperity wherein you would want to see an overall gain getting achieved. So this is where the way I see an SIP being there. Let's get into some facts. What did I say? I'm looking at SIP and getting that SIP related to the traditional SIP as a word. It's a fact that the industry, the assets have grown almost 6x. If I look at where the Nifty growth has been 2x. Now that's one reality which we all need to acknowledge. If I go to second one, mutual fund flows have defied the sentiments. Yes, though no linearity is something that one can think of in our industry, where volatility is your shadow is going to stay with you. Headwinds and tailwinds will always going to stay. There is going to be tussle between the two, and one is going to win over other in a different phases of time. But all of that still has led to an asset flows getting stronger and larger with every time getting passed. And then a behavior. While assets had been growing, but investors' behavior was very consistent, and the consistency was on redemption. They had been withdrawing money irrespective whether the markets were moving up or down. It could be the function of either a profit booking, or it could be the function of loss aversion or risk aversion that someone is looking at doing. But redemption had been a common phenomenon. I'm just trying to relate with you to certain facts which had been a part of our industry. But if you have been disciplined, and Mr. Bala also showed a slide pretty much to what the slide that I have with me. If you had been disciplined in your SIP, consistently putting the money, then irrespective of the fact, whichever way the events have happened which were disruptive, or an event which market didn't appreciate, and markets started showing the signs of volatility, yet you would see the wealth creation happening. Irrespective of the fact that the Nifty at various times had given a different, in a calendar year, have given a different kind of returns, obviously looking at the sentiment of the market during those times. But if you had been an investor every year, and you consistently remain investor till now, without redeeming the units, then the fact also remains that your compounding is working out to between 15 to 16, if in today's time, which is in the month of January. So what it says is, Doesn't matter whichever the markets are moving. If you're a long-term investor, you are seeing the wealth getting made. And what it has all led to is, it has turned out to be a powerful tool for all the retail participation, and which is where many comments are getting made saying doesn't matter whether FPI monies are moving in or not, our domestic institutions are strong enough, and the reality is we are shade below 19,000 crores of an SIP as we talk today. These are the facts that we spoke. Then what are we striving for? It doesn't matter whether the markets are rising, which normally the sentiments are, what are we doing? The markets are rising. The reality is, when the market moves up, your margin of safety also starts going up. And hence you are riding on those margin of safety, and you should remain invested in the market and look for a long-term compounding, which is what a capital market is supposed to be an instrument for. But if the markets are a range bound, what are you doing? We are actually with the market, you're accumulating units, you have been staying with the market, but you are actually working towards the time when the markets will come out of this zone, and all those accumulated units will start making money for you. So today, you may not be seeing the money getting made, but then eventually, they all will start becoming the compounders, which is what you are looking at. And if you are in a scenario, the markets are in a falling nature, rupee cost averaging benefits will start coming and contributing, and all the money, all the units that you have accumulated. And I like the idea of Ajit when Ajit spoke about that. Why are we evaluating, our investment on the value terms and not the unit terms? But this is where your units are actually making sense to you. Why? Because at the end of the day, you are accumulating more units when the markets are on a descending node. If these are the realities that we talk about, how can we innovate? There's something called a top-up SIP, which I don't know how many of our partners are actually practicing. But if you aren't, I think you must do that. I have got two tables illustrated to you all. One is without a top-up. Other one is talking about a top-up of 10%. Assuming the time period remains at 25 odd years, and we are assuming a 12% kind of a CAGR that you are generating over those years, the amount invested, again 30 odd lakhs, goes to almost 1.2 CR. And the corpus that you generate, again 1.7, goes to 3.9. This is a behavioral pattern that we all need to appreciate. If you go and ask the person that, look, you need to give more, he will always keep thinking what is to be done. But if you set up a process wherein you would say, every year, I'm going to take a 10% top-up for you, that can be a very, very effective tool for someone to look at a serious wealth creation and the goals that he's looking forward to achieving. So what I'm trying to say is, as a matter of innovation, when we talk about innovate, this can be one of the tools that one can apply a top-up SIPs. If you aren't doing it, I would strongly recommend that please start doing. If it's a practice, it's a good practice. I am in need of money. I'm in need of money today. What is the way to do? You withdraw. But why withdraw? There is a need which is a need for a specific time period, which is where you would want to have some liquidity. The other way to create that liquidity is, why do you not look at taking a loan against those units? And what am I doing? Assuming the period of my need was 3 years, I'm assuming the rate of return was 12%, which I've been consistent of. Rate of interest being 10. Obviously, if I'm looking at a 50 odd lakh compound, thinking in mind that I have to pay a long-term capital gain, and hence I need to create a buffer of a lakh more, I'm practically talking about redeeming close to 51 odd lakhs, which, since I have redeemed and I have taken the money out, obviously has an opportunity cost. And if I compound them at a 12%, again, I'm talking about a 20 odd lakh kind of an opportunity loss. But this is a great illustration. Let me tell you, a lot of things we can talk as an illustration on the Excel sheet. I could have made 12, 14, 10, 11, everything we can prove it. But I am trying to make a different point. Point is not about 20 odd lakhs as an opportunity cost or against the 16 odd lakh being a cost of borrowing, and hence you are on a deficit by 4 odd lakh. That's not the point. That's more of an illustration just to get you optically aligned with me. But what the message is please appreciate the very fact once you are out from the market, getting back to market is not easy. Because inertia has become that much more stronger and stronger. As inertia has become stronger, then what do? We start becoming analytic. And over-analysis leads to paralysis is a classic case that one could see happening in these kind of scenarios. Getting out is easy, getting back in is difficult. So can I control the behavior of my client by saying, look, you need money, I'll create a temporary liquidity for you, but don't take the money out. By doing that, you are still participating in the compounding machinery that India provides. If I do look for a prosper, which is the ultimate thing that we all are looking for, discipline is very critical. What do normally people do? Market fall, I'll stop my SIPs. Contrary to when you have a discount of getting offered to you, you tend to commit more. But here, when the discounts are getting offered because markets are on a descending note, you actually end up stopping. So what this gentleman on the right is trying to do, he's a loss aversion guy. He's trying to time it by avoiding all those 15% downs in the market and trying to be away from it. On the right guy has been saying, fine, doesn't matter, I'm going to remain committed, irrespective. In the bargain, if you see, there is a massive deficit that the guy who has been trying to time the market eventually has ended up, accumulating. And that is the point that I'm trying to say time and again. Please understand that importance is all about discipline. Mind it, I'm trying to still keep my all thoughts with an SIP because that's the center of point which I have been keeping in mind. People do have an aspiration to retire and create liquidity. SIP plus SWP can be a great combination wherein you can actually create enough liquidity for a client. Assuming a guy gives an SIP of 10,000 for 20 odd years or 25 or 30, he stays remain invested, 12% being a compounding, actually he creates a corpus of almost 91 odd lakhs. What do you do once he attains his age of retirement, which is a 60, and you know that a life expectancy is another 25 odd years, you create a withdrawal plan, obviously keeping in mind that there is an element of inflation is going to hit you, assuming 5% being the inflation, and if you do it, your 40,000 which you started off withdrawing, eventually at an age of 85 will grow to 1.3 odd lakhs because you have to grow the money on inflation. But despite getting all of that, yet you are left with a corpus of 55 odd lakhs. Not to take away the fact that you have moved the money from a 12% to 8% because now idea is not a wealth creation, the idea is wealth preservation. You have changed the thought completely. And that's important for one to look at. A combo of SIP and SWP can also be a great way to prosper. I spoke on top of SIPs. Look at the illustration. While you're doing a great job for your clients, you have created enough compounding for him and a great wealth for him, but likewise, look at it, what it's doing to us as a partners. I take a very simple assumption, 10,000 SIP, 75 bips being the commission, 10 odd being 20, top-up being 10. Without top-up and a with top-up, you can see what can it make as a difference on a retro session to all of you. It is a huge one. What 65 on the 20th year of the brokerage actually could be 2x. All that you have done is you have taken a 10%. That's about it, top up. So if this is all it is, then what am I talking about? It's very important to strive and say SIPs will continue to be the investment journey irrespective of the fact whatever the market conditions are. Innovation, you would need to think of something like a top-up or how can you create liquidity rather than taking the money out from the investment. And it's all about, as a partner or as an advisor to our client and for the client, are we both growing together? To me, that's where I would sum up saying a conventional SIP turning out to be SIP, which is the theme of the IFA Galaxy. Thank you.